Hello and welcome back to the Paddock. It has been a while since we've done a spotlight episode, if I'm being really honest. And while we have a gap between races, we figured we would do a team principal spotlight. And it's somebody that we've heard from a lot in recent weeks, James Vowles. Now, if you've listened to our recent episodes, you know that I have opinions. So buckle up for this episode. This could be an interesting one. On the episode, you have myself, Amy, Chelsea, and Ito. I am going to pass this over to Chelsea to kick us off with some history on James.
So we're going to start off with some history on James's education. Now, he graduated from the International School of Geneva in 1997 with an IB, and this was before attending the University of East, I believe, Anglia, for a computer science degree, and that was in 2000. Now, during his school time, he actually was going to F1 teams, and he was basically offering them like his expertise in math. And he was trying to basically go to these teams as a mathematician and offer the services in kind of creating the cars, because that's like what he did at school. So back then, the only thing is F1 they weren't looking for mathematicians, and a lot of the teams, what they ended up doing was recommending he go back to school and come back to them with a degree in engineering instead. And that's all they had to say. He went right back, and he ended up getting a master's degree in motorsport engineering and management from Cranfield University in 2001. And during his time there, this is really where like his career starts. He got an award, and it was a Pro Driver Award for helping design a race car for the Jim Russell campaign in school. Now, this award it got him the attention because the award ceremony had F1 teams come, and this led him to get like multiple offers literally the next day after the award ceremony from Formula One teams, which honestly impressive because he did exactly what he was told to do, and it really came through. Now, from the offers he received, he ended up joining Braun. If you haven't heard about Braun, they're not obviously on the grid anymore, but they're a Formula One team that got bought out by Mercedes back in 2010, and he got hired on as a chief strategist. If you don't know what a team strategist, no worries. Basically, they're responsible for planning and executing the race strategy for the team's drivers. You're going to know who these drivers were. It was Jenson Button, who I'm sure listeners recognize since we talk about him in past episodes. He was the driver champion that year in 2009 with Braun. And then we also had Rubens Barrichello, and he helped Braun win the Constructors' Championship in 2009. He was the other driver for the team. So James, this like 1 year with the team, it ended up kind of giving him this reputation as someone that would help other teams win, because he helped them win 8 races, the championship. He helped Jenson, Button get the driver's championship. And he also did this while working with a limited budget, and they had late start in testing. So it's very fair to say that James Vowles started his career exactly how you want when you want to get to where he is now. But as I said, they did get bought out by Mercedes, and Ito was the one that jumped into that.
Yes, they did get bought out by Mercedes, but basically a bit of backstory in Braun as well. Before I get started, Braun basically just existed because Ross Braun thought he had a championship-winning car, but the team it was under folded in 2008 at the end of it. But because he thought he had a championship-winning car, the owner decided, I'll let you buy the team for $1. And so that's why he could run in 2009 with that car, with Jenson Button and Rubens Barrichello. And of course, James Vowles was part of that story. But as Chelsea mentioned, they got bought out by Mercedes at the end of 2009. So what happened then? Well, James obviously transitioned to Mercedes. And honestly, he just continued being the remarkable strategist that he was. He helped them get all the titles, literally. because he, at the very end, would end up serving as the motorsports strategy director, and he was just their king, dare I say, or one of their kings, in the hybrid era from 2014 to 2021. He was integral in designing and executing race strategies, and therefore just going on that winning streak. But you might now wonder, how exactly did he help? Because just being integral to race strategy and design doesn't mean much. Well, he was a strategic mastermind. He was responsible for making critical race decisions, including pit stop timing, tire strategies, and race tactics. His strategy expertise directly impacted Mercedes' abilities to stay competitive in close races and perform consistently under varying conditions. That included some tough strategy calls, such as radio messages like "Valtteri, it's James" at the 2018 Russian GP. So yes, iconic radio messages, but also tough radio messages, because I remember that "Valtteri, it's James" message, it broke a lot of hearts. Valtteri's included, I'm sure. But he wasn't just known for that, because he was also known for his pit wall presence, as he was a constant figure on the pit wall during the races, working alongside key figures like Toto Wolff and the technical heads to make in-the-moment race decisions. His calm demeanor and data-driven approach, I mean, he is a trained mathematician, became critical in managing the pressure during these critical race moments. Then, of course, strategy department. He developed that too, because beyond his day-to-day race duties, he helped and built and expand Mercedes' strategy department by mentoring and training new talents within the team, and also sourcing that talent. He ensured Mercedes remained on the cutting edge of Formula One strategy as the team grew larger. And then, of course, that meant that he was integral in the championship success. So his race strategies, his strategies in general, helped Lewis win his 6th Drivers' Championship during Mercedes' dominance. And he also played an integral part in Nico Rosberg's 2016 title, navigating the very intense rivalry between the two. Because, as you might know, as we've talked about on here before, oftentimes when there's a lot of infighting within the teams, because they have such a good car and are basically head-to-head in the championship, especially in the Drivers' Championship, they often end up losing not just the Drivers' Championship, but also the Constructors. But thankfully, because of James Vowles' cool head, they were able to pull it out of the bag all these years.
Yeah, I will say, now that we're going into kind of like a new team season in 2025, and we've seen it with Logan and Alex, he has good control on keeping a team. Like, we never really see updates about like any controversy between the drivers under him. And while I don't particularly love him, maybe he is making cool head decisions, or at least he used to make cool head decisions, because at the end of the day, those two drivers, like Hamilton and Nico, we're all very much aware of the drama that happened between them. Like, that wasn't a secret thing that was happening behind scenes. So for that to be such like a prevalent dramatic situation that was happening in Formula One, and for the team to still continue doing as well as they were doing, it really shows that at the end of the day, James Vowles really did have control over how the drivers behave during a race setting. And I can see why that was very impressive to Formula One teams.
Mercedes era James Vowles was honestly iconic, if you ask me, because he was always so cool, calm, collected, very PR trained, always said just enough, never too much, was great at kind of like problem solving internally, which if you've worked in any corporate setting, problem solving within a team is impossible in a lot of situations. And James Vowles somehow had the ability to take two very big personalities and control them, which is not an easy thing to do. I feel like Toto Wolff found that out when James left, because he then had to figure out how to control a big personality like Lewis. And that's not necessarily always easy. I will forever bow down to Mercedes era James Vowles, but like only Mercedes and Braun era James is like, those are my two favorite eras for him. Current era, James, we gotta talk, man.
Yeah, he was definitely good at wrangling not just the Rosberg and Hamilton combo, but also the Hamilton-Bottas combo. Because, as Amy said, corporate politics, or team politics even, tough to handle, especially when it comes to athletes, because they're a whole different breed. But he went from wrangling drivers and dominance to the transition era. As the 2022 regulations came about, he actually stepped back from active pit wall duties, but continued to guide strategy from the team's headquarters in Brackley. His behind-the-scenes work ensured the continuity of Mercedes' strategic dominance despite the challenges posed by the new car regulations and the other teams that those regulations suited more. So, in summary, James Vowles' tenure at Mercedes was defined by his ability to execute flawless race strategies and guide the team to unprecedented success. His influence was not only felt on race days, but also in the development of a long-term winning culture at Mercedes.
In January of 2023, it was announced that James Vowles was actually going to be leaving Mercedes to become the team principal of Williams Racing, which basically meant that he was going to be replacing Jost Capito, who stepped down in December of 2022. In an interview that he did with the Daily Telegraph, James said that he felt, quote, too comfortable at Mercedes and was looking for a new challenge, which I do think is a very valid thing to feel. You were there for so long. Everything kind of became a system. Comfortability can be an issue sometimes, so I get it. And he actually described the offer for team principal at Williams as an opportunity of a lifetime. He said that he was honored to join Williams, an icon of the sport, and looked forward to the challenge of reviving their fortunes. Now, if you've listened to PGP for a while, you know we love a fun fact, so I have a fun fact for you, of course. James Vowles is actually only the third team principal in Williams history.
And just a little shout out to Claire Williams, team principal. She's my favorite, and we do have an episode on her. I just really wanted to mention that.
We love Claire. We stan Claire. Claire Williams. Bring her back? I don't know. Give her something. I need her back in F1. Please. Somehow, some way. I don't care. Make her a commentator for like a random race, just for the fun of it. Bring back Claire 2025. And to kind of keep going on our fun facts, I do have a little another one for y'all. In July of 2017, he received an honorary Doctor of Science degree for his motorsport achievements from University of East Anglia. In his acceptance speech, he described Formula One as his profession, passion, and life, which is actually a reference to the essentials of happiness. He named F1 as one of the 3 key ingredients to his personal happiness, which I just think is really interesting. You can find the whole speech on like SoundCloud. It's like 8 minutes or so. I did actually listen to the whole thing. It was a really good speech. I will give that to him because graduation related speeches are always kind of rough, and I found his relatively interesting. I am going to keep it rolling with the fun and facts because I love fun facts. PGP loves fun facts, so why not? In 2022, literally very recently, James Vowles competed in the Asian Le Mans series, and he drove for Garage 59. He competed in only 4 races. He only earned 2 points. Yes, James, I'm going to harp on the fact that you only earned 2 points. And he finished in 17th.
I'm sorry, I'm just here like, oh, wow, 2 points. Logan could have done that if you left him for another year.
I mean, it's the same man who basically canned a driver because he only got, like, 2 points. So, like, I mean,
honestly, at this point, it is what it is. But then again, I wonder, did he make his own strategies? And if so, they clearly didn't pan out.
now, everybody recently has heard James Vowles' name in F1 related media on F1 Twitter. If you're like me, you're on F1 threads a lot. Shameless plug. Make sure you follow Paddock Girls podcast on threads. I'm always on there. You can always come chat with me, ask me a question. Always around. So there's my little plug. Thanks, bye. But this man has been in the news like crazy. So I'm going to get a little bit critical, maybe even a little petty, but these are my personal opinions, people. Please take all of this with a grain of salt. I feel like we have seen such a big shift in James from being in Mercedes to being at Williams. The public relations super trained James Vowles is honestly gone. He is out the window. I haven't seen him, don't know him. This is a whole new James, and I don't know how I feel about it.
Honestly, at the start, like when he first joined, I felt like this is cool. This is a vibe. This is relatable. It's amazing. Especially like the videos that he did with like Williams explaining the races, explaining the car, etc. I'm like, yes, this I can get behind. But then it went south very quickly. And I feel like that's like he should have just stuck to the race, the explaining, the memes and stuff like that, not necessarily all the negative stuff. But again, opinions.
I do agree. I feel like if he had stuck to that more educational lens, I think it would have done really well. It almost feels as though James has like a little bit of a chip on his shoulder about the fact that Williams is always being presented as the Mercedes B team, sister team, whatever you want to call it. It just feels like he's a little pissed off about it. And I kind of don't blame him, but Mercedes is how you landed this job. You should be like almost a little appreciative. I don't know. Don't shoot the messenger. These are just my thoughts, people. It also kind of like it generally feels like he almost wants to get out of Toto's shadow. That just might be my own thoughts, but it feels personal at times with the way he handles things. I don't know.
Okay. These are all opinions. Anyways, so I think James Vowles is a very, very smart man. He has a lot of experience. He has a lot of knowledge. He has a lot of experience. He has a lot of knowledge. He has a lot of experience. He has a lot of knowledge. He has a lot of experience. He has a lot of knowledge. He has a lot of experience. He has a lot of knowledge. He has a lot of experience. He has a lot of knowledge. He has a lot of experience. He has a lot of knowledge. He has a lot of experience. He has a lot of knowledge. He has a lot of experience. He has a lot of knowledge. He has a lot of experience. He has a lot of knowledge. He has a lot of experience. He has a lot of knowledge. He has a lot of experience. He has a lot of knowledge. He has a lot of experience. He has a lot of knowledge. He has a lot of experience. He has a lot of knowledge. He has a lot of experience. He has a lot of knowledge. He has a lot of experience. He has a lot of knowledge. He has a lot of experi I just, this is a very like obvious thing to me. I think in the sense of like what I think he's doing. I think when he left Mercedes, there was a couple of things he wanted to do. One, he really wanted to separate himself from it. And that's understandable because you don't want to go into a new team being called the Mercedes guy. You don't. I understand that completely. And you also, I feel like he did want to leave Toto's shadow because he doesn't want his decisions to look like maybe repetition of what he did in Mercedes. He maybe wants it to look like something he's doing only for Williams, etc. I do think that him doing this on his own, like now he's team principal, is also probably what's maybe messing with him when it comes to like the PR stuff. Because it's one thing to kind of defend your decisions because you know that you're the one making the strategies, you know that you're the one doing this, etc. Now as a team principal, you have to defend your decisions and other people's decisions. And maybe sometimes that comes off wrong because he can't really defend it if it wasn't even his decision. And that's maybe why he maybe gets more defensive because now it's his team on the line, not just his name. So it's kind of like he's maybe not doing the best PR right now, and we all can agree, and like we're going to talk about it, he's doing some crazy decisions with like the next, or maybe not crazy, just out of pocket. And it's just like I'm trying to remind myself, like every time JV does a decision, I'm like, this is for Williams, this is not a Mercedes decision. Like he doesn't have Toto or the Mercedes teams helping with these decisions. Like this is him building his team, hopefully doing the right thing. Is he doing the right thing? You have to see. But I don't want to be too hard on him, even though I don't love him right now, because it is like only his second year, it's like a full team principal. And we talked about this before. Toto was handed a good team. Christian Horner, he was handed good drivers in like their first year as a Red Bull team, you know, not handed, but that team was very quick to get it together. And I feel like he's not wrong. He went into a team that is very challenging and he's not given him anything besides Alex. So it's tough. And I think Claire, when she left, she was very much like, I'm doing this for the best of the team. And we're just hoping that is still true. If not, hashtag bring back Claire 2025. Same way we kicked out Logan, we can kick out James.
I'm definitely bring back Claire 2025 stan. We need to get this trending. But yes, I feel like it's very much a different story when you're, say, the number 2 in a team to going to the number 1, not even at that team, but at a different team, and that your old boss is still competing with you, like on the same level now. And while I understand that might be hard, there are ways to go about it. Like, for example, you don't, just because it might come off as a Mercedes decision, if he did something that looked similar to something that he would have done at Mercedes, it's still F1. There's only so many decisions you can make that are, dare I say, race-winning decisions or team-winning decisions. So it's understandable if it looks similar. Plus, Williams had this history of being a development team for Mercedes. I mean, we saw so many Williams drivers go to Mercedes, Nico Rosberg being one of them, Valtteri Bottas, George Russell, and more. And honestly, I feel like he is just trying, with all this moving away from Mercedes, Williams not wanting to be a sister team, like he's just moving away from everything at such a quick pace that it almost feels like, dude, don't bite the hand that fed you for so long. This is not going to end well. But again, opinions.
I want whoever listens to this to go on our threads or go on our Twitter and tell us how many times we say the word opinions, because we're going to say it a lot, people. Sorry, not sorry. These are our opinions. I think everybody, though, can agree with our opinion that the Logan situation was not handled properly. Both with when they brought him into the team and into F1, but also with when and how they let him go from the team. Now, recently, I stumbled across a quote from an interview that James did. I don't know who he gave this interview with, but it was in GP blog when I found the quote. And it's in reference to the new sponsors who joined Williams after Franco was announced. Now, if you listen to our last episode, you know that I said that I felt that it felt very convenient of when they joined. And James Vowles, specifically said, "What I will make clear to everyone here is no sponsor was linked to signing him meaning Franco. Actually, we signed him at the point of not knowing anything in the future." I still stand by my previous feelings. Sorry, not sorry.
I have opinions on this. Not really specifically on Franco, though. So, the whole, like, Franco and Logan situation switch, obviously a dilemma. In the sense that, like, one, if this doesn't go well for Franco, which, I mean, in the sense that, like, the kid's not even going to have a seat next year right now. I don't want to say wasting his career, because, like, this is a very long career that these guys work up to from the second they're toddlers to whatever. But it's just kind of like, because he's going to do this decision, join the Williams team, finish out the season with them, now he's not going to be able to even drive for F2 because of the F1 races under his belt. So that's it. Now you're removed from the lower driving. And he could have done it again, because it's not like he won the championship or anything. So that's it. Formula is out of his career because he chose to do Formula One for the ending season. So when this season ends, we're going to have to see him go into lower racing. That to me is already a step back in your career. And you're doing this for a team that, yes, they have a lot of reputation as like a historical team on the grid and things like that. But you're not doing this for a team that you're going to win at. Or that you maybe even possibly have a chance at winning a race or getting top 10 in a race. No offense to Franco or Williams, but that's just how the car and team is right now. Besides Alex, who, let's face it, is driving his ass every day and already knows the car because he's been there for so long. He's like a Yuki, you know? They know their car, even if it is shit. That's why they're going to drive a little better than whoever comes new. So I don't think it was handled properly. But what upsets me the most is it's the freaking sponsorships. Williams last year, I went to a couple races. If there's one thing that was very prevalent in Williams is we are the American team. They went to conferences, they would do talks, the drivers would come out, their marketing team would come out, and they would kind of do like these presentations. Williams even had a presentation in the Texas COTA show. And one of the things they brought up was like, you are trying to make yourself the American team. You have the American drivers, you have the American sponsors. They have like 4, I think, that are American based. Like, what is your goal with this? And they were like bullshitting fans, basically, because they're like, we're the American team, we have the American driver, blah, blah. We're going to make the American, we're going to like take over the American F1 market. And then they fucked it up. Literally the only thing you had going for you really was the American driver, because no one cares about the sponsors, like where they're from. It's cool you have them, but we just know they're paying your bills. We don't really care about who your sponsor is. And it's like Duracell, for example, was like probably Logan's number one fan. If you were following them on social media, all they posted was Logan. I don't even think they paid attention to Alex half the time, which again makes sense. They're not an American. Alex is not an American driver. Like, they knew what they were doing for their fans, marketing USA driver to USA fans. And now I want to see how they're going to backtrack that whole marketing campaign they basically spent a lot of money on doing with Logan, because they are not the American team. They did all that work And there is no one on this earth who watches Formula One and compares Williams as the American team. If I think Red Bull is the American team, and they're not even American. So it's like, they wasted, I feel like, a lot of potential on Logan and like a total lapse of everything. In the marketing and the driving, in like maybe even the training, because I feel like Key Baby could have done better if there had been more work on driving tests and things like that, whatever it is that they do behind the scenes. So I don't know if maybe James Vowles over his head. Like we said, he left Mercedes, and now he has to make a name for himself in Williams. And I think he's still trying to figure out how to do that, because you're coming behind someone who was a family member to Williams, and then you're coming behind someone who got championships with Williams. And it's like, that's a lot to step into. And you're also in this weird insecure moment where you're trying to leave Mercedes. Don't be insecure. Like, you are coming from one of the number one teams. Use that mentality and make your team number one. Don't use that and think you have to compete with them. Use that and think you have to be like them and then above them, you know? And I feel like that's where he's like backing off, where he's really trying to make Williams. And it's like, it is Williams. Don't worry about that. We're going to take it as it is. Just get us a championship. Stop trying to separate from Mercedes. So it's like, I don't know. Fine. Maybe the sponsorship had nothing to do with Franco, because I know they got the Globant sponsorship either like right before or right after Franco announcement came out. But it's like, don't market yourself so incorrectly and then be surprised when fans are upset. Because I feel like right now he's getting defensive in the media because he knows that's a lot of backlash in the decisions. Don't be upset. Just fucking own it up. The fans hate us right now, but we're going to try better with our new driver. Like, that's all you have to say. And we'll probably respect you a little more.
I feel like James Vowles should have listened to Jost Capito when Jost told him to just give Logan time, because Jost saw the potential. And the issue that Williams ran into is the fact that Williams needed to put a body in their car. And James has never really worked with young, new, still figuring it out drivers. He's always worked with accomplished professionals. Not that Logan is not a professional, because, you know, he is a professional racing driver, but he is not seasoned in the same way. Alex, I would not necessarily say is seasoned, but Alex is also not a newbie. He knows what he's doing. He understands a lot more. He's more of a traditional professional driver that James is used to interacting with. I think if James had just taken a step back, I feel like things could have been a little different. I think if Williams needs to push the we're America's team thing, y'all better smack me in the face with Leah Block at every opportunity you get, or I will be offended, because that's the only other American option you got.
Oh yes, all of this. I feel like with the whole Logan situation and also now the Franco situation, I feel like my thoughts are just spinning, because on one hand, as you said, Amy, they just needed a body in the car when they promoted Logan. They could have promoted someone else, honestly. Yes, they had American sponsors that they might wanted to keep happy, but he was, dare I say, nowhere in F2, in the F2 standings, at least for the whole F1 driver pipeline. So to me, even just knowing that, remembering that, it was like, why are you promoting this kid? Give him another year. But again, they needed a body. So that was that. And I feel like now with Franco, same thing happens. And as we've mentioned on this episode and the previous episode too, when it was announced, it all seems very coincidental to have the South American sponsors and then bring in the South American driver. I feel like it's, again, a sponsorship happy deal. But that's my take. Noted. Notice, I haven't said opinion because we've said that too much on here. Oops, now I said it. Anyway, something else I want to bring up. Remember when the Logan drop was announced and the Franco substitution was announced? There were people outraged, that, me included, that Mick Schumacher, reserve driver for Mercedes, was not announced as a replacement because he had driven an F1 car before for 2 years. Remember, he was a Haas driver. He was just basically waiting. He was also a reserve driver for Williams. He still is. So why not put in a known quantity instead of a rookie whose F2 career you now ruined because of the whole 3 race rule? But as I said, I wasn't the only one, because Karina Schumacher, his mother, aka Michael Schumacher's wife, showed up in Monza to basically, from what I've heard, not confirmed, chew out James Vowles. And can I just say, you go Queen. Just you go Queen. Because for those of you who don't know, who haven't watched Formula One in the early 2000s, she was always there. She was at Michael's back. And she was queen. And she apparently still is.
We love Karina Schumacher on this podcast. Icon, moment, love. But there's one Williams-related rumor involving James, as always, it seems, that I feel like we need to just talk about because I need to keep my eye on this, and I feel like everybody needs to keep an eye out for this. There are rumors, note that I'm saying the word rumors, that there is a clause or some kind of agreement that Williams and Mercedes can swap around Carlos and Kimi Antonelli next season. So say Kimi does trash in a Mercedes, they can pull Carlos and put Carlos in the Mercedes and put Kimi in the Williams, which is what they should have just done in the frickin' first place. I don't understand. I swear to God, I swear to the F1 gods, if they do this next season, you will all hear me scream bloody murder from Boston. I am not even going to apologize in the slightest.
I'm calling that shit now. It's going to happen after summer break.
I could see it happening sooner, but everybody keep your eyes peeled because if this rumor is true, I think F1 might implode.
But that rumor would also make sense why Carlos went to Williams. Because I feel like you don't go from Ferrari at 30 years old to Williams unless you're either desperate or there's something else going on.
No, girl, it was the second one. He was desperate. We know that those managers were late.
And to close out the episode, we have to do a quote. And it has to be Valtteri, it's James. It's just forever the most iconic thing. It literally was turned into a meme. There are also edited versions of the audio where Valtteri, I'm using air quotes here, responds back. I don't actually know if it's been confirmed if that actually is legit or not. I'm assuming it's AI, but there are some fantastic TikTok audios with it. Highly recommend you check them out. They'll make you giggle.
Thank you for joining us in the paddock. I know this is like one of our more opinionated episodes. Take another shot for opinion. But let's face it, we had a lot. Which team principal would you want to hear about next? Let us know on our socials. You can find us everywhere at Paddock Girls Podcast, except on Twitter. We are Paddock Girls Pod. See you at the next race. We are going to be covering the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. Bye, everyone.
See ya.
Bye.